An official response from Taiwan over Beijing's aggressiveness. It says Taiwan stands on the front lines of what it described as an assault and won't back down. This as China conducted military exercises in the Taiwan Strait. Beijing claims Taiwan is not eligible to join the United Nations. That's because it claims the island as a part of mainland China. Widespread power shortages are still wreaking havoc across China. Almost 2/3 of the country is now struggling with electricity rationing. And the problem is hitting the global supply chain too. Hundreds of workers are protesting from one company in South China, and they work for a main supplier to Apple computers. And the world is still wondering, where exactly did the pandemic come from? A vital clue could be sitting inside tens of thousands of blood samples in Wuhan. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. China news may seem chaotic. With so much information swirling in the news, we want to offer you a look at the bigger picture to help you make sense of the details. If you haven't already, use the link in the description box and subscribe to our China in Focus newsletter. On top of offering the highlights of what's going on, it also gives the much-needed context behind those stories. And once in a while, you also get a peek into some behind-the-scenes content to see what we're up to. Every Friday morning, the latest will land in your inbox. Taiwan's president has issued an official response to China's intensifying pressure on the island. She says Taiwan is committed to combating the challenges from their authoritarian neighbor. NTD's Don Ma has more.
Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen has responded to China's intimidation towards the island. In an official speech on Monday, Tsai said Taiwan will not surrender.
Through gray zone activities, military threats, and information manipulation, authoritarian regimes aim to erode our citizens' confidence in democratic institutions and polarize our societies. Taiwan stands on the front line of this assault, and we have been working diligently to combat such coercion.
Her message comes on the same day China conducted military exercises in the Taiwan Strait. Beijing said that the exercises were to, quote, defend national sovereignty. Tensions are high between Taiwan and China. Beginning last Friday, China sent close to 150 warplanes into the island's air defense zone over a 4-day period. On the same day, Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping vowed to take over Taiwan, what the CCP calls reunification. He said nobody should underestimate the firm will, steadfast determination, and powerful ability of the Chinese people, saying that China would defend its, quote, national sovereignty and territorial integrity. On Tuesday, the Pentagon responded to China's actions. The press secretary said the Department of Defense urges Beijing to stop its military and diplomatic intimidation of the island.
And our commitment to Taiwan is rock solid. We have an abiding interest in peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait, and that's why we're going to continue to assist Taiwan in maintaining a sufficient self-defense capability.
But the press secretary also says that the DoD takes no position on the sovereignty of Taiwan. Don Ma, NTD News.
China's foreign ministry again opposed Taiwan's request to join the United Nations. They claim that Taiwan is a province of China and that the communist regime is the only representative of the region.
Beijing is once again saying no to a request from Taiwan. The island is hoping to join the United Nations.
The United Nations system, specialized agencies, and the UN Secretariat should follow the One China principle and General Assembly Resolution 2758 in all matters relating to Taiwan. Taiwan, as a province of China, is not eligible to join the United Nations at all.
The One China principle holds that Taiwan is part of China and that Beijing's Communist Party is China's sole legitimate ruler. That's in line with Resolution 2758, a decision passed 50 years ago in the United Nations. It removed Taiwan from the United Nations and recognized Beijing as the only legitimate representative of China. China's foreign ministry spokesman made the comment Tuesday after remarks from Taiwan's foreign minister Joseph Wu. Wu argued the resolution didn't address Taiwan's representation at the UN. For 50 years, China has been using its diplomatic clout to stop Taiwan from joining any organizations that require statehood for membership, including the World Health Organization. More recently, China has been stepping up its threats to bring the island under its control, using military force if necessary. something Beijing has expressed verbally and through frequent military intimidation, like aerial patrols. Also on Tuesday, Zhao commented on a poll. Its data shows that more than 3/4 of Canadians believe the government should ban Chinese tech giant Huawei, specifically from the country's 5G network infrastructure. In response, Zhao called on Canada to remain what he called non-discriminatory towards Huawei.
The little island of Taiwan is officially called the Republic of China, ROC for short. It has its own passport and diplomatic relations. But back in the early part of the last century, the Republic of China was the name for mainland China. Now, the mainland is officially called the People's Republic of China, a small but significant difference. So let's take a look at the history. Taiwan's indigenous people were not Chinese. They were not ruled by any other country or foreign government. But in the late 1890s, Taiwan fell into the hands of Japan. And over in mainland China, by the 1920s, the Kuomintang, or Chinese Nationalist Party, had basically unified that country. But the situation changed in 1937, when China's war against Japan broke out in full swing. It lasted 8 years, ending with Japan's surrender. Taiwan was then handed over to the national government of the Republic of China, led by Jiang Jieshi. But in the same year, another wave of China's civil war broke out between the national government and the Chinese Communist Party, which had been rising in power. Losing the civil war, the national government of the Republic of China moved to Taiwan and remains there. Many puzzle over the relationship between Taiwan and China. The People's Republic of China, or PRC, occupied most of the territory of the Republic of China, or ROC, during the Chinese Civil War. But Taiwan is still under the control of the Kuomintang's Republic of China, and Beijing has never ruled Taiwan for a single day. China's energy crisis is deepening. Almost 2/3 of the country is struggling with power rationing right now. And in one particularly hard-hit province, things are not getting better. The province, called Liaoning, is located in China's Rust Belt. It's home to the largest economy in the region and has a population of over 40 million. That's slightly higher than the population of California. Authorities there have doled out 5 power shortage warnings in 2 weeks. The electricity supply could not keep up with the demand, and on Monday, the gap between them once reached nearly 5 gigawatts. To put that into perspective, that much electricity could power over 1 million homes. Severe flooding across China is adding to the country's energy woes, prompting coal prices to hit a record high on Wednesday. Seeking to ease the power crunch, China has taken a range of steps. One of them being boosting production in its 2 top coal regions, Shenxi Province and Inner Mongolia. But recent and persistent rains have flooded 60 mines in Shenxi. On top of increasing production, Beijing is ramping up imports too. Based on official data published on Wednesday, China's coal imports from last month rose nearly 80% compared to a year before, and marks the 5th highest on record. Authorities also doubled electricity imports from Russia. But topping the list as China's boldest step, there's an incoming policy change in the power sector. On Tuesday, Beijing announced it will now allow power plants to charge customers higher prices. China's manufacturing industries used to lock in fixed-price power deals with suppliers. But even the new measures don't seem to be enough to fill China's energy gap. In Zhejiang Province, China's manufacturing powerhouse, local officials are planning measures to punish large energy consumers. According to a draft, companies that exceed certain annual power usage limits will be paying extra fees by percentage. And if they fail to rectify the overuse within 2 years, the rates for both the higher prices and additional fines will get raised. The proposed draft is now open for suggestions. It's expected to take effect as early as next month. While the nation's power crisis is estimated to last through the end of this year. Those widespread power outages are taking a toll on global supply chains too, now causing trouble for one of U.S. tech giant Apple's suppliers. Hundreds of workers are protesting, as some of them are set to be laid off, while those who can keep their jobs may soon take home less pay.
About 1,000 employees working for Sunrex Technology are protesting. They all work for the same branch of the electronics manufacturing company located in South China's Suzhou City. One of them told us their wages will soon drop by more than 10%, and some part-time workers are also earmarked for layoffs. And it's all happening because of China's electricity crisis. Sunrex worker Mr. Li told NTD Monday that the protest continued into the work week after starting this weekend.
There may be more than 1,000 people today, and many more around here. Some of them arrived here at 1 to 2 a.m. in the morning. They've been waiting until now.
China started rationing electricity this past summer. Because of the intermittent or reduced power, many manufacturers have been forced to close down periodically.
Because of the power rationing, Sunrex partially closed, and we don't have enough working hours. We were hired by an intermediary as hourly workers. We are paid hourly, but now a few yuan will be dropped per hour, so we don't want to do it anymore.
Li blamed the labor service company, which contracts workers for companies looking to hire. He says it's taking advantage of the power outages to reduce their wages.
The labor service company is reducing our wages, not Sunrex Technology. Sunrex is also suffering from the power outages. We simply have no work to do.
Because of it, the workers are now demanding compensation from the labor service company.
The intermediary never showed up. The police are now helping us spread the word. There's a lot of chaos here now. We're being driven out. The entrance to the Sunrex building is blocked, and now we can't get in.
Sunrex is based in Taiwan. It is the world's largest manufacturer of laptop computer keyboards. Its customers include Apple, Dell, HP, and Samsung. Sunrex established a branch in Suzhou City for good reason. The city is located in one of China's top manufacturing provinces. But the power shortages in recent months have hit the area hard. What's more, a number of foreign companies have recently begun moving out of China. For one, U.S. retail giant Walmart announced plans earlier this month to move its global supplier business department to India. One survey also shows 3 out of 4 American companies either already moved or are planning to move at least part of their production lines out of China. Likewise, nearly 1,700 Japanese companies applied for relocation subsidies to move out of China earlier this year.
A vital clue to where COVID-19 came from could be sitting in a Chinese hospital. As many as 200,000 blood samples taken in Wuhan 2 years ago. China says it will start testing them soon. But when and how? And how much will Beijing truly reveal?
Ground zero for the illness sparking global unease.
It is likely a brand new viral pneumonia.
It is perhaps the last publicly known clue to where coronavirus came from. But will the world ever learn the truth of what it says? Tens of thousands of tiny blood samples taken in Wuhan in the last months of 2019 are still stored in a hospital there.
The samples from the blood bank absolutely will contain vital clues.
They could potentially be very revelatory.
This is the closest to the world we've seen of real-time samples.
The samples might reveal when, and even where, antibodies against the virus first appeared in humans in October or November 2 years ago. China says they had to be kept for legal reasons for 2 years in case of lawsuits over the blood transfusions they are from. But now that limit is almost up for the key months at the end of 2019, and a Chinese official confirmed to CNN that China is preparing to test them, echoing a promise from July when they said they would share the results. Related institutions from the Chinese side, he says, also express that once they have the results, they will deliver them to both the Chinese and foreign expert teams. The samples come from the disposable tubes that carry donor blood into the donor bag, and are something the WHO team said earlier this year they wanted to examine.
Did you find the origins of the coronavirus?
They could contain vital, detailed information.
Might also help us to follow the trajectory of the spread of the virus, by tracking the individuals who may carry the virus.
And you would like to go back to find out exactly during which month this virus started to leave fingerprints in the human population in China.
It is common practice to de-identify the samples. So you could strip it down to basic demographics, age, gender, neighborhood where they lived, all of those data will be available.
But the same problem emerges again. It will be China and China alone doing the testing and reporting their results. The US's recent report into the origins of the coronavirus and statements from allies have all demanded greater transparency from China. But now this key data is being examined a full 2 years later, and there's no plan, as it stands, for outsiders like the WHO to be allowed in on it.
In order to make it convincing and credible, the results, ideally you want to involve, the WHO, or the foreign experts.
I'm not completely certain that China has not done this testing and has not shared the results.
What we always say is trust but verify. It surely would be better if the Chinese scientists would permit external scientists to be with them, to collaborate, to do this all together.
But instead, this vital remaining clue risks being mired in recriminations and uncertainty again. Nick Payton-Walsh, CNN, London.
A major typhoon has hit Hong Kong and surrounding areas. On Wednesday, Hong Kong suspended classes, stock market trading, and government services as Typhoon Kompasu descended on the city. It brought sustained winds of up to 50 miles per hour. And in the afternoon, the typhoon landed in China's southern island province of Hainan. According to the local Bureau of Meteorology, this is the strongest typhoon in the province since 2014. The whole province and some cities in the neighboring Guangdong province also suspended schools. Kompasu earlier set off landslides and flash floods in the northern Philippines, leaving at least 11 people dead and 7 missing. The International Olympic Committee, or IOC, says it will not pressure China over its human rights record. China is hosting the 2022 Winter Olympics.
We have no ability to go into a country and tell them what to do. All we can do is to award the Olympic Games to a country under conditions set out in a host contract, and Brisbane's got it, and then ensure that they are followed.
IOC Vice President John Coates made the comment at a virtual meeting of the National Press Club of Australia on Wednesday. Human rights groups and U.S. lawmakers have called on the Olympic Committee to postpone next year's Beijing Games. Alternatively, they've urged the IOC to relocate the event unless Beijing ends its genocide campaign against Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities. China denies wrongdoing, saying it has set up vocational training centers to combat extremism. Coates stated that the IOC does emphasize human rights, but its remit policy only covers the so-called Olympic movement.
The situations that you've referred to, the humanitarian ones in China, is not within our remit.
Last month, the IOC said it had helped around 100 members of the Olympic community in Afghanistan, providing assistance to leave the country on humanitarian visas. That's after the Taliban took control. Britain's new aircraft carrier, the HMS Queen Elizabeth, made a stop in Singapore on Monday. This is part of a move to boost its military presence in Asia amid rising competition among major powers.
The HMS Queen Elizabeth led a British carrier strike group over the weekend, part of joint military exercises with Singapore. The drills included naval maneuvers as well as simulated combat training using F-35B stealth fighters and F-16 jets. The F-35 is one of the most advanced fighter jet models in the world. UK Strike Group Commander Steve Morehouse explained that the drills marked the new aircraft carrier's first official deployment and stressed the importance of Singapore's location.
Our recent integrated review highlighted the importance of the Indo-Pacific and the UK's intent to tilt here and have an increased footprint and much more persistent presence.
During its global deployment, the strike group will visit and/or perform military exercises with 40 countries. That's according to a statement from the British government. Britain, like China, now operates 2 aircraft carriers, compared to the United States' 11. The Queen Elizabeth is the largest warship built by the UK. It's roughly the length of 3 soccer fields. Last month, the Queen Elizabeth traveled to Japan to mark the start of permanent military presence in the area. At the same time, the UK agreed to a trilateral regional defense pact with the United States and Australia called AUKUS, largely aimed at Beijing. In recent years, China has been intensifying its activities in the South China Sea, including deploying Coast Guard ships all over the area. and building man-made islands complete with missile systems. The firepower is part of Beijing's asserting vast territorial claims there, though an international arbitral ruling declared those claims invalid years ago.
Britain's assertion of its military presence in the Indo-Pacific comes amid souring tensions between the UK and China. The once loyal partner of China has become a vocal critic. Around July, the UK announced that it would ban new purchases of Chinese telecom giant Huawei's 5G equipment, and that all Huawei equipment is to be removed from its 5G networks by the end of 2027. Also in July, the British government opened a new pathway for millions of Hong Kongers to obtain citizenship. And in April, British lawmakers declared that China's abuse towards ethnic Uyghur minorities amounts to genocide. And that's all for today's China in Focus. Thanks for watching, and see you tomorrow.